Coming to you straight from the Rio Grande and beyond. Broadcasting to the four corners of the globe. So grab your seat, your coffee, or your sundowner.
Okay, everybody, here we go.
On point, as always. This is Gloves Off. Gloves Off.
Have you ever wondered about what happens in a martial arts studio? Well, you start right away by setting goals, building determination, gaining focus, building skills, all while becoming more fit, gaining confidence, and learning self-defense. Withdrawn Academy is a school where attitude meets aptitude. So give us a call at 956-401-4868. We're back at you in Gloves Off, and today we got a great guest, one that is still in the race, one that's a contender for the City Council District 6, which is Dr. Tyler King. How are we doing, Doctor?
Hey, good to see you.
Well, congratulations for making it in the second runaround.
Made the Super Bowl.
Yeah, now you're in the championship.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
How do you feel?
Feel great. I mean, the early voting came in around 7:15, and people were already starting to call and congratulate. And I'm like, hold the phone. Let's just wait for the final results. And everyone was assuring me that the early vote usually goes with the election day vote pretty well. And that's something I don't think I was mentally ready to know the results that quickly. I was planning on waiting until 9, 10, 11 o'clock before we knew anything for sure, but everyone was very confident around 7:30, and the news come into our house, and it's like, okay, well, they believe it, but I'm not going to believe it until the end. And luckily, it did turn out that way, and we're in the runoff, so very excited.
And it's going to be a quick one because you're looking at December 18th, right?
That's the crazy part. You would think the city does this every 2 years, and they still don't know when the runoff's going to be. I've heard December 10th, 17th. Now I'm hearing the 13th. And according to the city, you have to do early voting, has to start 17 days before Election Day, which would be November 28th, the Monday after Thanksgiving. When early voting could potentially start. That's not final. We don't know. Council is meeting next Wednesday to decide that. So, but it's kind of, I don't understand how you can't know. Perhaps it's because they can't do it until we know there's going to be a runoff for sure, but you would think they'd have a contingency plan to kind of know that in advance. But anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see.
And I want to congratulate everybody that ran. Number one, everybody ran clean campaigns. Everybody ran very energetic campaigns. There was a lot of questions of to who, and everywhere throughout Laredo. I also want to congratulate our new two city council women that are going to be up there. I think they're going to bring a different point of view to the city that everybody should be looking at. I hope you all are guided well from the one from above, and you all do it as for yourselves and not your feelings, and actually do it for the issue of what's at stake, what needs to be done, which is Laredo, because Laredoans elected you, for a reason.
Yeah.
So number one, congratulations for you all.
Congrats.
On another note, the problems are still there.
Yeah.
We still have the water issue. We still have the immigration issue. We got all that stuff that you're going to be facing with it. I mean, you're going to go in, if you get elected, and you're going to go in, and all of a sudden, boom, it's going to be a fight in your hands.
Yeah, it's a big challenge.
It's a big challenge for a lot of people that have never been around in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see is going to be the most challenging part of everything?
Well, of course, anyone who's getting a new job has to learn the ropes, and so my opponent and I would both be new to the job. Anyone, you can go to council meetings, but you'll never be ready until you sit in that chair, is what I believe. But ultimately, I think our biggest challenge right from the get-go, even though water is our number one priority, I also think hiring the next city manager is critical. We have to get a city manager who's committed to Laredo, who understands the issues of Laredo. It doesn't have to be someone who is from Laredo necessarily. It can be someone who knows the issues in international trade in Mexico, the bridges, immigration, like you said. So we need to have someone qualified, but also someone who is committed to Laredo for the long term. We've had the golden parachutes, and we've had people leave with these fat salaries, and the city gets screwed. So I personally think for our long-term health and future of the city, the biggest first challenge that we're going to have is hiring the next city manager and get it right this time. Last time it was a big circus. It was a year-long thing, national search. They hire, they went against the committee's recommendation and hired the co-chair of the committee. Which, I have nothing personal against that. The former city manager just really want us to get that right this time, and make sure that we have a city manager who's going to be quality, competent, and with us for the long term. So.
Absolutely. Well, that's number one. That's an issue that needs to be here in hand. We also have other issues that are in hand. Number one, of course, water.
Yeah.
Second of all, that international bridge. How do you feel about that binational park? Are you one that's for it? Are you one that says, you know what, let's wait, let's see what else we can do? There's other ways to get our tourism here. How do you feel about that? Because a lot of people that concern, that's very concerning.
No, it's a hot button issue. So I think they made a mistake calling it a park from the beginning, because what they're proposing, I think, is more, what they want to propose is more than a park. But when you call it a park, then everyone's going to say, why would a park cost $300 million?
Well, not 300, up to 1 billion.
I've seen those range of figures. And there's no budget. There's no budget for it. We don't know how it will be financed. At first it was going to be federal money. That money is now locked up. I'll say one thing. It should not be on the backs of Laredo taxpayers.
Absolutely.
So if we can, I do think if Border Patrol's on board, which from my understanding, Border Patrol is not against this project. So I don't know to what extent they're for it. But there are some things that would help with line of sight when you get rid of those invasive species, increase the lighting in the area. There actually is part of it that could actually improve border security. And it could be, if you think about it, I'm not comparing Laredo to San Antonio. Obviously, we're different cities. But if you think about the hundreds of millions of dollars they spent on the San Antonio Riverwalk, not saying that this could be that, but you've seen an economic boom from that, and it's paid for itself, tenfold. So I don't want to be negative about it where I'm outright against it, but I'm open-minded to it. But as far as, I need to see where the financing is going to come from. I need to see if we can get public-private partnerships, if we can get donations, any grants, state and federal grants. But it also will preserve the river. If we can, I see it as a binational river conservation project. I don't really care about of course I love a park, but the park aspect isn't really what I
I like your idea about doing something with the San Antonio Riverwalk. I wish we could do something with Zacate Creek in the sense of a riverwalk. Yeah. As it was proposed by Zachary many years ago, and that he was kicked out. He's the one that designed the one over there in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. I think if we did something like that, I think that will boost Laredo dramatically. Yeah. I am 100% for that. Because
you got to invest in yourself. Yeah. If you're gonna, and of course, the water infrastructure still is number important. But we gotta. I think as a dynamic city has to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time and do more than one thing. So otherwise, we're just going to be a closed-minded city and get left in the past and be a pit stop on the way from Monterrey to San Antonio.
Absolutely, and that's basically what it has turned out to be. It's just a pit stop. People say, "Oh, but the restaurants on 35 are always full." So the McDonald's in Cotula and in Pearsall and in Lytle and all the way up to 35. McDonald's will always book because McDonald's is not into hamburgers. McDonald's is actually into real estate. So they're the best ones in that look for that. So people need to understand what we're looking for. Mm-hmm. Now, people say, "We're the number one port." Listen, 200 years from now, we're still going to be the number one port. 300 years ago, we're still going to be a port of significance.
Most likely,
yeah. So it really doesn't matter. It's what are we going to do now? Mm-hmm. And that's what people are going to understand that. This is like Marseille. Marseille has been a port since before the Romans. Mm-hmm. Since before Rome was Rome, Marseille was a port.
Yeah.
And the Phoenicians used it, and the Gauls used it, and the Vikings used it. Everybody, the Corsairs used it, back and forth all throughout history. It's always been a port.
Yeah.
And it's always kept that same element. Is there contraband? Is there legal and illegal contraband? Of course. We have it here.
Yep.
We have the same thing. So it's always going to be there. The merchants that are involved with that import exportation, always going to be there. We had pirates then. We still have them now. Now we have cartels and everything else. The same thing. It just changed names.
Yep.
So we're going to have that. So with all that aside, that business, that commerce will always be here in Laredo. But how about the commerce that's around? How about manufacturing jobs? How about building stores that are going to attract people to come inside? How about building schools, tech schools and stuff to help our kids that are going to go out there and hit the business, the world running?
We need our 18-year-olds that are graduating to have other options besides a 4-year college, right? I was a high school history teacher for 4 years, and I taught at a charter school in Donna, Texas, and we sent 100% of our graduates to a 4-year college. Great idea, great mission, but I think that's missing the mark. I mean, I work there, I have great friends still there, but not everybody needs or wants to go to a 4-year college.
Absolutely.
We need to be promoting more trade schools, vocational schools. Not to mention, they're well paid, you know. You're going to get paid more as a plumber or someone who fixes air conditioners than if you get a philosophy degree, which, hey, I love my philosophers out there, but yeah, we need to give our 18-year-olds more options, you know, for when they graduate high school. But so I agree with you on that.
It's true. No, and I agree fully, because I'm just thinking, you know, you have a lot of things, and I have a dear friend of mine that said this to me the other day, and it resonated. And he said, you can have a person that graduated with all the highest grades and has a negative attitude. He's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And you have a kid that went to a tech school that has the most positive, energetic attitude. Let's go get him. And he's making millions.
Yeah, you gotta hustle.
And you know what I'm saying?
It's all about the hustle.
It's all about the attitude as well. So right now, I think Laredo has to come in terms with itself, especially in this election.
Yeah.
And literally research the candidates, talk to them. Folks, if you're out there, call Dr. King and say, you know what?
Cell number 956-308-6440. Personal cell. Call me up.
You know, and talk to me. What can we do this? You know, and take it that route. I think the city has to open up its arms more to the small businesses, which they haven't. I think they have to embrace them now a lot harder. You know, people are looking at this election with fear, and they shouldn't be, because we shouldn't fear anybody. We're Americans. Understand what I'm saying?
Right.
Unfortunately, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
We should respect, not fear. Okay, we should respect everybody, acknowledge that everybody's there, and be prepared for the best and for the worst. And people right now are preparing themselves for the worst. And how are they doing it? They're moving out.
Yeah.
And they're moving to San Antonio. They're moving to McAllen. They're moving elsewhere. They're not staying here. I mean, you already had it. And,
I lived in McAllen for 5 years, and they're doing things that Laredo's not. You know, they have a spirit of competition. They're more business friendly. You know. And they have an advantage in McAllen, in the valley, because there's other cities nearby that if you're treating them businesses bad, they can just go to Edinburgh, Mission, Pharr, San Juan, Alamo, Donna, Wesco, Harlingen. You know, so they have that advantage. But in Laredo, we should be able to create the competition, even though we're an island. I mean, it's like 150 miles. We're the only place in town. You know, and that creates arrogance, which I'm trying to remember your acronym that you gave.
ABCs.
Arrogance,
bureaucracy, complacency.
Okay, yes, I remember the arrogance one. But yeah, so and that's what our city has, because they're, like you said, complacent, because they know they're the only ship in town. But
by way of the highway, you know?
Like you said, they forget that people can leave. San Antonio is only 2 hours away. It's not that far away. People can go open a business there. They can go to McAllen. I mean, we've seen developers leave Laredo to go develop the valley.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll be smart for all those landowners that people say they're landowners there, and they're fed up with the complacency, the bureaucracy of Laredo and everything else. They should get together with each other. And guess what? Open up a new town 13 miles away.
Yeah.
You already have the infrastructure for all the import export to come through. You guys get together. You guys got the land over there. Just open it up over there. All you have to do is tell UISD, you know what? I want a school down here. You get the developers to start developing over there. You're not that far away.
Wow, yeah.
And start building another little town. Call it whatever you want to call it. Build another town just a little bit north of Laredo on 35. You all have the land.
Wow.
Open it up. Do the same thing going down.
I'm surprised no one's ever done that.
Yeah, maybe they're not thinking outside the box.
They need to
But
talk.
they should be thinking outside the box,
Yeah.
and they should be doing this more. And guess what? Pay another 6 or 4 or 5 different politicians when they go in there, and have them as well.
Yeah.
You know, and people are not thinking. That's what they should. Instead of being all controlled over, we're not going to anybody. Move out. You all are the only ones with the land.
Yeah.
You guys make money? Make money. Laredo's not giving you a good thing. Open up your own little town. Start it up. Why not?
Well,
You know what I'm saying? They have the land.
I guess someone running for city of Laredo City Council. I guess I shouldn't endorse that, but I wouldn't blame
You know,
anyone
that's
for trying
that
to.
day. It's capitalism.
Yeah, it is.
It's capitalism. That's the American way. Let's get it done.
It obviously worked in the valley, so.
It's worked in the Valley. It's worked in San Antonio. It's worked in Dallas. It's worked all over the place. And
Good point.
you can build it, and people don't want to be here. They want to be stuck here with the complacency, their bureaucracy, their arrogance. Build a better place just 13 miles out. 14 miles from now, open up a new...
Ciudad Vitron.
No, not Ciudad Vitron, but open it up. Call it whatever you want to call it. Las Palmas, the Desierto, whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's an idea.
Yeah.
Think outside the box. Hopefully the Quillams and the Benavides are listening to that, because you guys
Well,
need
yeah.
to
If I
start
don't,
moving that way.
if I don't win this election, I guess I can just go try to open a new city.
You know, it sounds funny, but that's reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's reality. You know, you had Paris proper, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of all the little towns. Why?
Yeah.
Because people started building outside.
Mhm.
It's going to grow. If it's already stagnant and it won't grow anymore, it's going to grow outside of that
Mhm.
circle.
Interesting. Well, I guess that will not be on my platform. But
No, it's
interesting
not.
idea. Yeah.
It's an idea that
Yeah.
that should be taken in there. Anyway, folks, yeah, it's stuff that's out there, stuff to think about. Look at, how about the water? The water's an issue.
Yeah. So basically, we have to find. So the river water is our cheapest possible water. It's our only source of water. It's about 25% of the cost that it would be to get water from anywhere else. If we're piping it in aquifers, if we're doing the reverse osmosis, if we're getting it, which those are all great ideas, and we may need to consider it, because currently the river is only going to last, as it's projected, another 17 years to feed the current 6 million people that it currently feeds. I think we need to try to make that last as long as possible, the full 17 years, or if we can do preservation projects along the river to get that Carrizo cane that sucks up 100 gallons of water a day, get rid of those invasive species to make the river last as long as possible. But eventually the river is, the way we see extreme droughts that we've had, and followed by extreme floodings, eventually the river's not going to be enough. So we saw how deathly low that the dams got, Amistad and Falcon Dam. We saw how low they were getting earlier in the year before we got that rain. So we're going to have to find a secondary water source, and I mentioned a few options there that we have to look at, but it's going to cost money. That's why I want to make the river last as long as possible, because it's 25% of the cost is the next cheapest thing, 4 times the cost. So. And then the pipes, it's projections are looking at, I've heard anywhere from $600 million to $1 billion to for the pipe infrastructure. So that's going to potentially need to go to be That's going to potentially need to be bonded, which the city, the citizens may need to vote on that. We also got to look for other ways to. We failed to get 14 state grants this year. From the state of Texas. They offer grants, and we applied for 14. It's a little bit tricky on whether or not we missed the deadline, or filled out the application wrong, or we didn't make our case well enough, but we missed, whatever the excuse is of the city, we missed out on 14 grants to to bring in infrastructure.
You see, and when you see stuff like that going on, you see the problem of the water issue. You see the secondary water source. Those are issues that have been going around for the last 20 years. And when you talk to people, they've always been talking about them, and nothing has ever been done. Everything's always, tomorrow, everything's great. Tomorrow we'll do it. Let's kick it down the can. Let's look at this other option. Let's put these people into this committee. And those number one, those committees have failed.
Yeah.
So I think number one, who am I to say? But if you have a failed committee and they've been failing and they've been failing all along, I think you have to remove them.
Yeah, the definition of insanity is doing the same over and over, expecting a different result, right?
So Doctor, here's what I say, do we need all these committees? No, we're electing you to be the city councilman. I think you should be the one that's going through all these department meetings and saying, okay, yay, nay, nay, and let's bring it forth and we'll vote on it the next time.
Yeah.
I think
and having a good city manager who can manage that, because
absolutely,
we don't want a city council member as well who's micromanaging the department chairs, because then you're manager, not a council member. We should be there. We should be giving our input, but at the same time, I don't think we should take over the city manager. A lot of council members run for council when they really want to run for city manager. They just don't realize the difference between council and manager.
A lot of city councilmen never had power.
Yeah.
And when they have a power there, they think they have absolute power.
Right.
And one thing's being elected. You've never been elected to any position. A lot of these people have never been anything in their lives, and then they get elected. Okay.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even do a good cheesecake at the house. That's why their husbands and others went out to go eat somewhere else because he couldn't cook right. And then all of a sudden now you're telling people what to do. It's called absolute power. When you get absolute power because of it, boom, right in your face, you think you can do whatever you want.
It gets to people.
You know what I'm saying?
Power corrupts people.
Absolutely.
And especially when they, like you said, never had power before or never had a larger purpose that they were going for. And I think as a physician, like, I know your father was a doctor or is a doctor. I mean, really, there's no better honor, than working as a physician. And like I have that honor. I'm not running for a new title, Although I will say, when I am council member, I will, I will not be doctor in the council member. I want to kind of not blur those lines, and I want to be council member king in the chamber, and then when I'm with my patient,
you're Dr. King, correct.
Yeah.
And that's a good way you should put it. But what I'm talking about is, these committees have failed. Let's get back to that point.
Oh yeah, sorry.
And they've looked over our secondary water sources left and right. They've had how can I say, studies upon studies, and let's pay more for this study, and we're going to pay more for that study over there. Now we're going to do another study because it's going to cost this much.
Oh yeah.
They have so many studies. It's irrelevant. Forget the studies. Let's then now get down to business, and here's the options we have. Let's vote for it. That's what you all were here elected to do for.
Yeah, all the studies are excuses to not
do your job.
Yeah, I agree.
And
we overdo it. Sometimes, maybe, occasionally, they're necessary, but it's an easy excuse. It's an easy out from actually making a decision. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you need people that are going to go in there and say, enough of that's enough. Let's get this thing done. So now we're talking about bonding. Whether we're going to raise the taxes somewhere or another for the water issue that was their fault. That person that didn't place the grants inside, what's going to happen to them?
No, we got
fire.
Yeah.
Or fire him.
Yeah.
You know what? Go work at McDonald's. You messed up over here. Understand what? I'm sorry, but that's how it has to be.
We have to.
You know
if
what
you're
I'm
not
saying?
there to serve and do a good job,
then we're gonna have to find somebody else
to work. Yeah.
And people need to stop doing that. And what happens here in Laredo, and the complacency, they already found out they're complacent. Now I'm not gonna do my job because if I do it bad enough, well, I might get a director's position because everybody else has been up there because of favoritism. We can't run in there. I wouldn't say nepotism, but more favoritism.
Okay.
Or you know what I'm saying? Maybe nepotism.
Maybe a
in
little
some
both,
cases, you know what I'm saying? So we can all speculate whichever way, but that's what we see from the outside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have friends who work in the health in the city, and they've seen council members calling directors, asking them to change the qualifications for a job so that their compadre could qualify, and then they change it, and 24 hours later the job is closed. So there's that favoritism that you're talking about that's not appropriate. So
You know what I'm saying? So we really need to sit down, get back to basics. I think Laredo is in a very rough position, and let's say you win in a couple of weeks, you become council member. You guys are going to be thrown into this position of we have to dig ourselves out of this hole.
Yeah.
And how are we going to do it for us not to cause any more havoc?
No, honestly, this is the worst job I've ever applied for because it's going to be a tough job. And when I say that, it's going to be an honor if I can get it, right? But what I mean by that is it's not going to be easy.
Sure.
It's going to be one of the most difficult jobs I've ever applied for, and in a tough position. There's not going to be a bunch of easy decisions to be made. There's going to be some tough ones, and I think it starts with picking the city manager. Then it starts with and figuring out how we're going to replace our water infrastructure, and then the thousands of other things that are going to be coming our way. But we have to stay focused on the big picture. We can't lose the forest for the trees, as it's said. We got to focus on big picture stuff that actually makes a tangible difference in people's lives, and not get distracted by the silly stuff.
Absolutely.
And the photo ops and the ribbon cuttings and I'm going to go to ribbon cuttings, I'm sure, and that's great, and we want to promote anything that's going on. But sometimes it's more of a show than the meat and potatoes of actually getting things done. So
Absolutely.
and I just want to make sure I'm more on substance, less on show. But you have to do both. But unfortunately, yeah. But.
And I think you're on point on that, thinking that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was we still have another runoff. We have the runoff of the mayor,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the runoff of District 1.
Yeah.
And so they're going to be
Three races
are going to be in runoffs. I will have a debate between you and Mr. Vinswani, and I'll let you guys know where it's going to be at. It's not going to be a public debate. It's going to be one that's going to be closed doors between us. We're going to have a nice little sit down and talk about issues. So if people want to send questions for what we should ask, please do so. My email is withronacademy2012@gmail.com. You can send me the message through Facebook Messenger. We'll pick it up. It's no big deal. And we'll talk about it because there's a lot of concerns in there, and we need to find out where everybody's at. And, it's no longer a popularity contest. It's about who's going to get the job done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and who can work with people, who can act, because at the end of the day, you're only one council member.
Absolutely.
And if just you want something, you don't get what you want. You have to build a consensus, be a team player, and get 5 votes for whatever you need. So I think I have the temperament and the type of person who can reach across, even though we're nonpartisan, reach across the aisle. I'm not going to join a clique. I'm going to be open for business for every council member. Any vote I can get that helps our district and our city, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to be playing the petty politics. I'm not going to be focused on the cheese man, the gossip. I'm going to be focused on actually working, getting things done. So I think that's why y'all should consider choosing me. drtylerking.com, Facebook, Instagram, and I already gave you my phone number, so very accessible. So we appreciate the consideration. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Folks, I will leave you with that. Like always, you all be safe, stay safe, and we have an election coming up. Research each candidate. Research the issues. Remember, it's no longer about political parties or cliques or whatnot. It's about issues, and understand the issues that are at stake, and pick the person that's going to best deal with the issues that are right here. And we here in Laredo, we have a lot of issues, and we need to start making a list of them and saying, okay, this one needs to be taken off. We have to scratch that one off. This one needs to be taken care of, and go down the line on each one, and not just say, you know what, we're going to send it off to a committee. Let that committee figure it out. Oh God, guess what? It doesn't go with our politics, with our newspaper, so it's not going to be mentioned. It's enough of that. it's downright straightforward. If it's an issue, it's an issue that we have to take care of, and it's an issue that we have to forget about it, and get it done. Because there's a lot of things that went wrong in past administrations that were kicked down the street. And you're talking about administrations going back into the mid-90s, that we are dealing with their problems in the mid-90s. And believe me, there's people that are still working in certain positions that have been around since the 90s. And those departments are still shredded because those people in the 90s are still living in the 90s, and they're not pushing forward, or they're not moving ahead. And the city is damaged. And but just like an old car, you can still fix it up. We can soup it up. We can make it whatever we want, and keep on moving forward. This thing about we're import and export company. We've always been an import and export port since Laredo started, and I guarantee you 300 years from now, 500 years from now, it's still going to be unless we have a huge geographical change, we're still going to be a import-export hub. But so what we need to do now is talk about our small businesses and what we're going to get inside, period. Make Laredo for what Laredo's for, and we have to build Laredo for that. And we're not going to build Laredo because of Nuevo Laredo. We're going to build Laredo because of Laredo. And unfortunately, that's what it is. Because our neighbors have been bad for the last 200 years, and they're still bad now. So they have to change their attitude, or we go forward. Right? Good luck.
Pleasure.
And we will get together with that and there about the little sit down, and we'll get it done, and we'll get it done, because let's move it forward.
Yes,
Folks,
sir.
until next time, be safe.